welcome to Sonar Feed.
Yeah.
Episode 181. Sawatzky's Pool of Gold.
Yeah.
Yes, welcome into episode 181 of SonarFeed. We're joined by the one and only Darren Sawatzky.
Yeah.
Let's
go.
Mr. Pool of Gold creator, finding the talent and bringing it to the masses here in the Seattle area. Welcome in, Coach.
Yeah,
it's good to
Coach,
have you.
welcome.
Very good to have you here.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely,
Appreciate it.
absolutely. So my name is Aaron Riley, a.k.a. Sonar Riley. Across from me, it's Hugo.
Garcia at MeVita Seattle on Twitter. What up, y'all?
We're joined again by our esteemed friend over here, to my right, your left.
Kyle Gervin at Gervin0 on Twitter.
And, of course, the one and only Coach.
I guess I'm at DTarzan66 if you want to follow me.
There we go.
There you go.
There you go.
Worthy of a follow.
Give him a follow.
Absolutely worthy of a follow.
Follow him right now.
So, lots to talk about tonight. We're going to learn more about you, what you're doing right now, kind of what's been going on in your world, so to speak.
Okay.
Who you are. Find a little bit about, peel apart the layers of the onion to figure out who is Darren and what
Yes.
makes Darren
Tick.
who he is, and how do you find your amazing talent and bring it up. So we'll not hear about that. But
Okay.
also
For sure.
maybe talk a little bit about the current state of the world and the local Seattle soccer scene. Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes.
It's kind of hot. It's kind of hot.
But yeah,
Getting
so
warm fires.
very warm.
All kinds of fires going on.
So let's talk about you, though, Darren. So
Yeah,
tell us
man.
a little bit about yourself. Like, where did Darren come from? Go back as far as you want.
yeah.
We've had people go back to birth, or just go back a couple years. So whatever you want to do.
Well, I like a softback book and a pair of candles and a bath. No, I grew up in Federal Way.
Yeah.
Single dad for a
5'3".
lot of my youth. Did a lot of learning and experimenting. Grew up in that
That's
area.
what life's
and-
about.
Yeah, and at that time, there's a lot of guys that came out of Federal Way that went on to careers.
Right.
Yeah, and a lot of them worked for the Sounders or played for the Sounders and moved on. It was a hotbed of soccer players for a long time.
It still is, man. I mean, if you think about like a lot of the great names that have come out of Seattle, quote unquote Seattle, Federal Way, Thomas Jefferson High School. I mean, a lot of talent in that area, man. I don't know what it is about it, but it's all that soccer blood in that neighborhood, man.
Yeah, it's interesting. There was a
fine.
group, Wade Weber, who now works in the academy
Yeah.
of the Sounders and does a lot of stuff, TV-wise for the Sounders. He, that group of guys that played for that goalpost team. I mean, it was unbelievable. There was a guy that most people don't even know about. His name's Ray Hoff. The guy
Ray Hoff.
he could jump out of his shoes. He was the best goal scorer of that era. He kind of went the
Ray
wrong
Hoff.
route.
All right, we got to look it up, folks.
Yeah, you look it up. Goalpost. He was the best striker in the area. The guy could score with his head from anywhere. Those TJ State championships, it was him. Jimmy Weber, Wade Weber, Rob Sakamoto, all of these guys that came out of there. They went on University of Portland. A lot of them became pro players. They started the whole thing.
Wow, legit.
Yeah, TJ's
So-
been legit for a while.
Yeah, they have,
Lamar
yeah.
run through
Nine,
there.
nine,
Lamar.
state championships.
Nine?
Yeah.
96 game unbeaten streak.
What?
Yeah, as a kid who went to Stadium High, TJ was always
It's
they were
okay,
the
man.
soccer team,
It's okay.
yeah.
Treatment's not that expensive, man. You'll be okay.
I'm working on it. Yeah, I got a crowdsource for it. So, yeah. TJ always crushes though.
They're still good. Lamar went there.
Yep.
Lamar actually, it's an interesting story with Lamar because Lamar was he was a good player, but he wasn't like that guy. He wasn't the man.
Superstar.
And his senior year, my brother and I were coaching TJ, and we cut a guy. I'm not gonna kill him online here, but we cut a guy halfway through the season because he was a pain in the ass. And the minute we cut him, the very next game, Lamar scored 6 goals and never looked back. It's really
Wow.
where he took off, and he went to UNLV, and he wasn't really that highly touted. I mean, a lot of people weren't interested in him. The local schools, you wouldn't give him the time of day. He went to UNLV, and the rest is history. I mean, that
crazy.
kid's unbelievable. Love him.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's having a good year.
Needed
I know
a breath
another
of
local
fresh
team that
air.
could really
Yeah.
use him.
Yeah. Yeah,
could use some
I think,
goals.
and we talked to him before he left, obviously, and we all said we hate to see him go, but you do. Sometimes you need a fresh perspective, and you need that fresh breath of air to get somewhere, to
Absolutely.
get something different. So
Yeah, it's working for him.
It
DC's
is.
got some work to do, but Benny Olsen's a feisty fucker, and he'll take care of him. You know
Yep.
what I mean?
Yep, absolutely. So good. Okay, so let's talk about you then. Like, so what did you? So you were at TJ
I did. I went to TJ.
and you played.
I wasn't the greatest player, but I
Okay.
played there.
Okay.
When you say titles were you there?
I didn't. I was part of the class. I got there because the coach that coached when I was in 9th grade wouldn't pick up 9th graders, so they won it that year. So I got to watch the damn thing. Then the next year we missed them, so I had to go back. We went back in 05 and won it with Lamar. So
Nice.
That's awesome.
yeah, I went to TJ. I played on the local club soccer scene.
Okay.
Went to the University of Portland, and then I did the second semester of my senior year at college from Mexico City.
Oh.
I went down
¿Habla
there.
española?
Sí, yo hablo español.
Eso.
Muy malo, muy malo.
No,
Despacio,
se
Conte.
nota que está chingón. That's good.
Mix is Spanish también.
Eso, mira. Eso me gusta. I like this guy,
Tranquilo, tranquilo.
man. Eso sí. Tiene razón. Más tequila, por favor.
Yeah, solamente inglés. So, okay.
Gotcha. So, what was that about? Mexico City.
Well, it was before MLS. You know, when all of us wanted to go professional, and there was a guy named Nacho Baez, who played at Cruz Azul. He played for the old Portland Timbers, and he was coaching a team called the Salem Surge at the time.
Okay.
It would have been all the different leagues back then. It was called the USISL, and so the second semester of my senior year, I was playing for that team, and he set up the trial. In fact, Pumas came up and played against us.
Wow.
Jorge Campos was in goal, and
Wow.
I scored in the first half.
On Campos.
On Campos.
Let's
and
go.
Anyway, he at halftime we were winning 1-0, and Pumas wouldn't come out of the locker room. Bunch of college kids, so they beat us 5-1 in the second half. But after the game, they invited me down to training camp. So I went down and I went to Pumas and I went to León, where Marcelo.
Wow.
Leon,
These
yeah.
are like some big clubs down there.
Yeah, but it was, man, I'll tell you what, blonde hair, blue-eyed, güero in the middle of Mexico
Yeah.
City, you know
It's
what I'm
gonna be
talking
hard.
about.
Yeah,
1995.
yeah.
So I dug it out for a while, and then I got a call from Sunil Gulati of all people, and he said, "Hey, listen, we're bringing the league back. You want to come back and go in the draft?"
Wow.
And I said, So,
Sounds all right.
so I came back and, I went. It was weird that first year. There was over like a week-long, 1,500 guys went through this combine. My roommate was Brian McBride and Amos McGee, who's a coach in D.C. now. They're all friends, and
Yeah.
we went through this whole thing, and they drafted about 150 of us. I went
1,500.
out of 50. I went 75th overall. I was in the 7th round of this massive draft. I went to New England. Played for New England the first 2.5 years, and I went to Dallas and Colorado. Pissed all those coaches off, so I moved on. So
Awesome.
What was your favorite team to play for?
the team that wins. New England was awesome, man. I scored the first home goal in the history.
Of the
In
franchise?
fact, the best one ever is this. We're playing at the Meadowlands against the New York, New Jersey Metro Stars, and Nicola Curricula. It's the Curricula curse. They couldn't win forever.
Right.
Well, guess who shot it off of Curricula past Miola?
What?
So I came in the game with about
great.
10 minutes left. 55,000 people at the Meadowlands opening it, and I shot it, and it went off of Curricula's leg and went right past Miola's ponytail and right in the back of the net.
Oh my God, that must
Nice.
have been
That's
crazy.
awesome.
Yeah, that's great. The best part about it,
Yeah.
I was a metalhead in the '80s, man. I loved Metallica was my band and all this stuff. This
Yeah.
is no bullshit. After the game, everybody's like, Darren, I'm out on the field signing autographs. 23 years old, I'm king.
Top of the fucking
I'm the
world.
man. And then I get in the locker room and everybody's, I'm so puffy chested. And who's sitting in my locker? James Hetfield. The lead
No
singer of
way.
Metallica,
No
because
way,
he was there to hang out with Alexi, who was on the team, right? So I went from being cool guy to being like, can I have your autograph? Yeah, man.
Fanboy in like
That
a
was
nanosecond.
crazy, yeah.
That's awesome,
It's a
bro.
long time ago now, man.
That's
a long time
awesome.
ago.
So how was it playing with Alexi?
You know what? Lexi's smarter than everybody thinks. Between him and Winalda, they're way more intelligent than people think. Alexi's,
Really?
Hell yeah. Everybody's like, I hate that guy.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
yeah.
that's because you're dumb.
Right.
He's the smartest man on the earth. He knows exactly what to do. He pokes the right buttons,
Right.
stays relevant. Look at his job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's,
Right.
in,
That's
he's,
great.
he's in the business to entertain,
Right.
and I'll tell you what, he
he's
entertains.
entertaining.
Yeah.
He's a good. He's a really good dude, and he's ultra intelligent also.
Okay.
Very, very intelligent.
That's
guy.
interesting. Well, because you're right. Because that's what he does, and that's why he does it. Because he gets some
And
watching.
he is really good at
Yeah.
poking the right.
Yeah, he took a
holes
picture
and-
at the Portland game of a bunch of Seattle fans,
Yeah.
and he picked the whitest group of Seattle fans possible and sent it to that guy who wrote the New York Times article about
yeah.
how we were
I
all
saw that
racist
shit.
and everything.
Yeah.
But Alexi did it. He totally did it on purpose. He found that group, and we know that. I mean, you were one of them. That's right. you were in that group.
Congratulations.
You're a meme. Yeah, no. Anyways, but yeah, no, that's interesting now. But he
Yeah.
was a good guy off the field.
Awesome guy. Still is.
Yeah.
Won all the two.
Okay.
Those are
Ronaldo, too.
those are probably the two guys that piss everybody off the most.
Oh,
they're,
absolutely.
they're both friends.
Yeah, Ronaldo's
Okay.
great. I
Look,
love
man, you get into that world, and you guys get some access. You know, thanks
Yeah.
for talking to me tonight. You know, I'll
Yeah.
give you a little access into some of that shit. But
Yeah.
the reality is, there's this group at the higher level, and if you think about it, out of the 150 people that got drafted, you know, some guys stayed, some didn't. There was probably about 60 or 70 guys that played a lot the first 3 or 4 years.
Right.
Those guys, I mean, fuck, there's that many people in this bar right now.
Right.
We all talk to each other, and we all go, all these guys bitching and moaning and listening to these women bitching and moaning about not making any money and all that stuff. I made 24 grand the first year in Boston.
Yeah.
Do you know what 24 grand buys you?
Nothing.
Nothing.
It don't even buy you a loaf of bread,
No.
dude.
Dang.
Forget the lunch meat.
Yeah.
Buys you 8 roommates and
And
flat.
yeah, for sure. And we dug it out, man. I don't. It's these people that bitch and moan. If you're not willing to live out of a bag and grind it, then quit. Quit.
That's
Go
it,
serve
yeah.
coffee and
Let
shut
them know.
up.
Yeah.
Truth.
It's true.
Because
Yeah.
once you earn it, once you do it, the guys like even Alexi and Eric that made decent money in the
Yeah.
league, they don't make the money that Oba and Dempsey make.
No.
And
Oh,
you-
yeah,
and,
no.
at that time, they were those guys.
Right.
Yeah,
You know, so
man.
they're making their money and doing their thing now. I mean, those guys, that '94 World Cup team, that group of guys, they deserve a lot of credit.
Yeah,
No-
absolutely.
no question.
100%.
They ate a lot of top ramen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's crazy.
Absolutely.
Just gotta grind it. Yeah.
But it's
You
true,
love
man.
it,
Lay
you
the,
gotta
lay the
grind it, yeah.
foundation, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, like, soccer may not be what it is today without those first
No,
OGs
absolutely
back
not.
in the day doing what they did, man.
Well, and they keep talking. I keep reading this stuff about how we don't have an identity. It annoys the hell out of me. And I obviously don't, let's just say I don't get along with everybody all the time.
Yeah.
I know American soccer players do have identities, but American soccer players need to be taught how to play by American soccer coaches who understand American mentality
Yep.
and have the same experience and developmental background that maybe a European or South American does. If you give that to American guys that understand cultures, purple, green, white, Asian, who cares? People that understand and grew up in it can do it. And those people need to get the keys. Because when those people have the keys, we have an identity. The people that don't have that have these jobs, that's why there's no identity. It's
Boom.
It's bullshit.
Right. No, it's great.
Yeah.
It is.
Hell
It's
yeah.
consistency. It's
Hell
top
yeah.
down. It's right.
It
Absolutely.
totally
100%.
is. But he's totally
He
right,
is.
man. On point.
So, looking at that, so then you played for how many years then total in MLS?
4 seasons.
4 seasons. Okay.
Yeah. I get up in the morning every day knowing all about all those years I played.
Okay.
And you got us some tryouts, too, didn't you? The Leicester City?
So, Casey Keller's a good friend of mine. Another ultra intelligent guy
Yeah.
who you either like him or you don't for a lot of people.
Yep.
But Casey's a good friend, and he, I grew up with him, and he, I played in college with him, and he and his wife Kirsten were nice enough to let me come stay with them, and I trained in between the '96 and '97 season over there. Played a couple of Pontons League games and Sunday League games while I was over there, and it was incredible. And the guy Paul Franklin, who was Martin O'Neill's right hand man there, he wanted me to stay. I couldn't get a work permit because it was very difficult to get it. But at that time, Clive Charles and Steve Sampson were working with the national team.
Yeah.
And Clive was like, look, you're going to probably get into the national pool, which means you could end up getting it. Maybe you stay in England. And I was like, hell no, long hair, look good. I was back in New England. I came back to be a rock star. Worked out for me.
All right. So after your playing days, did you go right? What did you do right after your playing days then?
I don't. I played for Clive in college. He's a guy that when he died, the soccer community in this country lost a legend, and he always talked about your body of work and everything that you do, and it's always do the very best that you do every time you do it, all of those things. So I started coaching while I was playing in college.
Beautiful.
I went after my coaching licenses before I was done. I had my A license before I quit as a professional player, so I had
Right.
already transitioned in.
Okay.
I got a year and a half ago, I finished the French formation license. It's the highest level youth license in the world.
Damn.
Took 2.5 years.
Wow.
They sent 21 people from the U.S., one from each MLS club, and 2 adjunct people. 11 of us passed. So I'm one of 11 guys that has the French formation license, pretty much in the Western Hemisphere. There's another set of guys going through it right now. Sean Henderson from the Sounders is doing it now. They're sending another set of guys through, but they're doing a modified year-long
Okay.
one. This thing was a master's degree on acid, dude. It was insane.
Wow.
And you were
It was
doing this while you're doing
intense,
everything else too.
Yeah, running the academy,
Right.
coaching the U23, scouting, getting my ass kicked by other people,
Yeah.
Jesus, man.
Wow.
I thought I had a lot of
Yeah.
projects going on. Damn.
Yeah, we're not even close.
That
Yeah.
mentality, just grinding it though. If you want
Yeah.
it, you're gonna grind and
You're
make it
gonna get
happen. Yeah.
Yep.
So as a coach, then how do you? Can you see that in the kid? Is that something you see, or that you instill, that you bring to them?
Don't know what you're asking. Are they going to be a pro soccer player?
No.
Are they gonna be
No.
What are you asking?
The work ethic. When you look at them, like as you do, you grind, you get it, you see the prize, you go after it. Do you see that when you're looking? Is that what you look for when you look for somebody?
For me personally, I can tell whether or not a kid has the right mentality to become a professional walking from the parking lot to the field.
Wow.
Truth. I can tell you after 10 minutes. Usually a first impression is right or wrong. No coach is perfect. Sometimes you
course
pick
not.
a guy and it doesn't work out. But you take Lamar for a second. I beat the door down. The college coaches didn't want to listen to me with Lamar. Lamar came here. Ziggy thought he was a left back. Said you're going to be a left back and let him go. I mean, if you remember the first year he was here, he played against Chelsea and Barcelona as a left back. Think about the two guys Lamar had to mark.
Yeah.
And does Lamar look like a left back to you?
No.
Negative
no,
Ghost
never,
Rider.
Never.
No. Patterns full.
Negative.
No
Ghost
chance.
Rider.
So the whole idea is if you can recognize mentality, you can recognize the work ethic, right?
Mm-hmm.
The talent doesn't necessarily have to be there.
Right.
Because guys can grind and get there. Most of the guys that make it aren't necessarily the most talented. Then it becomes putting them in the right environment, which is another thing most people in this country don't do well enough, in my perspective.
Yep.
Okay? You have to recruit well. You have to put them in the environment. You got to teach them, and you educate. You're not a coach. Up until the age of like 17, you are an educator. Right. Even with the U23s, 90% of what I do is education. It has absolutely fucking nothing to do with soccer and winning games. I have to help them get to that mentality and that level so that they can be a pro player. It's hard. 11 months a year, having to be your absolute best every day, everybody bashing you, yelling at you, Twitter, everything, right? You have to get an environment created so that they're ready for that. And it's hard. Sometimes you lose games to get a guy ready. That's what everything up to S2 should be.
Yes. Up to and including S2, though, right?
Absolutely. I think Ezra's doing an awesome job.
Yep.
He's my good friend. I think he's doing a great job. He, every week his team's getting better.
Yep.
He had a hard start, but it's getting better every day. The kids are getting better.
Yep.
The true test for him will be how many of those guys graduate into the first team and move on.
Correct.
The U23s, we've had 54 guys sign pro contracts in 4 years. Okay?
54?
In 4 years.
Yes. Now, do I go handpick the best guys around the country? Hell yeah, I'm a good recruiter. Look at my academy. You have to know what talent looks like. You got to go get it. But you also have to give them that final piece, and that's our trick. That's what we do. You give them the final piece, the step over, because being a pro is not, hey, I want to play soccer. It don't work like that, bro.
No.
You got to fucking want it. You got to want it more than somebody else, and you got to be willing to do the things that other people aren't willing to do.
Dude, I'm fired up. Let's go.
I know.
That's it.
Have you ever thought about being a motivational speaker?
Yeah, seriously.
I probably swear too much.
No. They all do. They all do.
we have the swear count. I love it. The swear count's going.
Hey, that's not really fair because these girls are at my training, so they know what it sounds like.
They may or may not have told us. Yeah. Careful, he's going to make you guys run laps too now.
Look, I've done a lot of speaking, but it's really, for me, I know what my niche is, okay?
Yeah.
I can coach professional soccer. I've done it. And that's where I'll go one day. When my 13-year-old's older, I'll go back into the pro game. But I have something that I know not a lot of people have. And it isn't just me. It's the recognition of the right coaches and staff and people to have around. My staff at the 23s is as good as half the USL staffs in the country. No problem. No question. They're very, very good. They all have different skill sets, and each one of them give those players something a little bit different so that when they come out, they're the most complete they can be if they choose to sacrifice and buy in. Now, there are guys that choose to not do it.
Yep.
And you know what happens to them? Nothing. Hell, nothing. They don't make it.
Yeah.
Even if they get a chance to go somewhere else, they go bounce through two teams, and all of a sudden they're fucking a barista making, espressos.
Yeah.
That's what happens. You got to be willing to listen, learn, and adapt. And a lot of guys don't do it.
Listen, learn, adapt.
Wow.
That's it.
Wow. I mean, that's wow. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's amazing. That
Yeah,
was
man.
great. That was like probably the best 5-minute or 3-minute answer like ever on the show. To be honest with you,
Seriously,
that
it's
is
like just
so.
dropping knowledge.
It really, yeah,
Don't
no, I
throw
just tweet-
kisses, throw cash, man.
Yeah,
There's 2
yeah.
hours in there. You know what I'm saying?
I just tweeted that you're dropping truth bombs over here, and it's the absolute god honest
Try not to
truth.
swear, man.
No, don't worry about it.
13-year-old
No,
boy
dude.
hears me. I go, you have him do that. You know
I
what I mean?
have a 12-year-old, and we have soccer rules that I extend to all the rules. But because I should have a swear jar at home.
Skylar knows, man. The locker room is a different world.
Yeah, it
It's
is
a different world. The locker
is.
room is different. What happens in the locker room doesn't necessarily.
So you
need to
said
be
there about that when he's older. So he's 13, you said. But when he's older, you're going to go back into the pros. Is your goal? You want to coach the pros?
I've had
or?
some opportunities. Yeah, I'll say it out loud. Don't bug me. Here's my thing. A licensed coaches and experts, the best that there is.
Yep.
You should be able to walk out to a field and say, "Here's 10 fat guys. We want a session on creation of 1v1 penetrating space." Whatever. I won't go too techie nerdy soccer on you. An expert should be able to walk out there, set the session up, and run it. It should be effective. It should be everything that it should be. every level, U12, U13, U14, U15, professional. If you can do that, you're an expert and you should be a pro. I'm not scared of any of that anywhere. I'll stand in a room with any coach. And the quote out of Bruce Arena 2 days ago, I laughed so hard. I retweeted that thing. He goes, analytic this, analytic that. At the end of the day, there's one analytic that matters. All of those things are useful. Yeah. I read all of it, man. I want to know how many passes. Yep. I want to know max load. I want to know everything that's happening in a game. But at the end of the day, if I got one and you don't, suck it.
That's it.
Oh my God!
Are you the best or just the greatest?
No, not that at all. There's a lot of coaches that are really, really good out there. But if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
What I learned on that French course was that I figured out what I didn't know, and it's a lot, man. I figured out, I'm like, holy crap. These guys have been doing it for 100 years. I'm like, holy shit, I do not know what I need to know. I got to work at this. I got to work at my craft every day. And then I came back. There's a lot of people that think that. I might sound arrogant right now. I'm not arrogant. I'm confident in what I know I know. There's so many people that believe that they know, and they don't. They need to go and work at it and get better at it. And there's a lot of guys that are doing a really awesome job. I mean, the guy that runs the academy for the Sounders now, Mark Nichols, ultra intelligent, awesome. I mean, he's unbelievable. He's a soccer academic. He'll have an answer. What I just said about walking out on a field, Mark could run a session with anybody, anywhere, anytime, and it would be spot on. His periodization would even be right on the day. How many sprints, per the day of the week, everything would be perfect. Very good. There's a lot of really good coaches and a lot of really good educators out there. Okay. The trick in our country is to put those guys in the right place. I'll give you another example. 3 years ago, we're playing down at De Anza. De Anza is a youth club. They play great soccer. Jeff Beitcher, former MLS guy, awesome dude. He had a guy named Securis that ran this U16 team. Right. Securis is now the U15 or 16 national team coach for us in this country, right? Yep. He's a great coach, but he played a modern three-man front press, right? Okay. The guys would press us all the way into our box. Yep. Well, Dick McCormick, who's a very good coach, Dick looked at it and made an adjustment. We talked about it. Everybody says, play out of the back, play soccer, play tic-tac soccer. Yeah, we're developing players. Well, when they pressed us, we bypassed it, threw it in the midfield, made 2 passes, passed it to Jordan Morris. He had a hat trick in 3 minutes, right? So I'm sitting there with Hugo Perez, who at the time's a U.S. soccer scout and a U14 guy, and I'm like, he's like, look at the way they played there, and it's so good. I'm like, they're down 3-0, and it's 10 minutes into the game. And then I go, what do you think of Jordan Morris? He goes, he's okay. He'll be an MLS player. And I'm like, bro, we can't build out of the back if they're high pressing. That's stupid. Right. And the most important thing is you're telling those kids to do something that isn't on. I said, I think our kids are better than De Anza. And he goes, no, De Anza's better. They play better soccer. I'm like, they're getting their ass kicked. And you know what? It isn't like we're not trying to play bad soccer. Our kids are just recognizing what's on in the game. Right. And that's the trick.
Making the adjustment.
That's the American identity. It's we win when we shouldn't. We outwork people. We're hard workers. We don't give a shit. We walk in the room swinging it. You know what I'm saying? Yep. We can never, ever lose that. And we also have to have the ability to adapt. So Dick did an incredible job. He said, I have Jordan Morris. They're playing with a high back line. They're pressing us. We'll bypass the press, play it through to Jordan, and score goals. Guess what? It worked.
Boom,
You're telling me Jurgen Klinsmann doesn't want that to happen every time? Here, Jordan, go score. Go score. Ziggy Schmidt, for that matter. Yeah. Recognition and adapting to the environment. And these are kids.
And now, so the kids are the kids doing it, or was Dick providing them the feedback that they needed to do it?
Great question. Open the fucking door, and I'm jumping through it. if you set the environment correctly and train them, depending on the pedagogy or methodology you're using as you bring them up through the youth, by the time they're 16, 17, Dick don't have to do nothing but pal-mal, brother. Watch the game. You know what I'm saying? You want to know why? Because they already know. They're already adapting to the environment. Right. You see what I'm saying? Yep. Now, do you have to step in and coach? Yeah. But by the time they're pro players, you shouldn't have to talk about that. Far too many guys in the MLS and in the USL that still need those refined pieces. And some guys are late bloomers. Yep. But if you set up your academy and it works correctly for a long enough time, you don't have to anymore. It's already done. That's why we get our asses kicked by Europeans. Right. Watch those 17, 18, and 19-year-olds. They play and train with professional players every day. They're adapting in an environment where they're playing against guys that are making money.
Yep.
Right. Exactly.
We're getting better at it, but we're not there yet.
How do we get there? The right people in the right spots, you said, but
sexy. Most important thing, people.
People.
Good programs with bad people suck. Bad programs with good people are fine. Good programs with good people kick everyone's ass. Yep. You put the right people in the right place in the right environment, you'll take care of business. Still got to recruit. That's your whole pot of gold thing you came up with.
Pool of gold.
If you still can't make lemonade without lemons, man. Right. You got to go get them.
Yeah.
You got to bring them in.
Land them too.
Very
you
important.
Convince them on your program and get them over.
Yeah.
identifying those and having
Are
the
we-
right channels to find those players.
Are we on the right track with the U.S. team right now, given the people we have in place and where they are? If you want to answer?
Ask the question more specifically. Can't argue that.
It seems to me. It's again. I'm not an expert like you by any means. I'm a
You just
guy
called
who
me an
likes to
expert.
drink.
Yeah.
I like a guy who likes to drink and watch soccer. So
Yeah.
that's my
I'm a
thing.
fan of both of those
Yeah.
things.
So yeah. But you're a lot smarter than I am when it comes to that soccer
Yeah.
for sure. A lot.
Got you
Not even
fooled
close.
so far. Keep
Nah.
going. What are you asking me?
My question is, if you look at the we handed over the reins to have the complete reorganization in the last 5 or 6 years of the U.S. team. At least that's how it was presented, or how I read it. It seems like we've taken a couple steps sideways and then backwards and then forwards, and I know things take time. You have to break everything apart. But are we going down the right path?
You're asking my personal opinion?
Yes.
Okay. One, teams can never operate on different platforms. And for too long, the youth national teams incrementally all operate on different platforms.
Right.
You'd have one guy doing one thing and one guy doing another.
Yep.
I think that they've done a good job of getting some good guys. You got a guy named Omid Namazi. Omid's played indoor soccer, futsal. He's played all these different things. He's from a different background. That's a good national team coach. Why? He's got the perspective of all of the things in America. But here's a good statistic for you guys. How tell me this right now. How many foreign-based coaches have won a World Cup? How many?
I'm gonna say 0, just because that's where you're leading.
Nailed
it.
it. Big fat nail in the end.
Really?
Yep.
No foreign-based coach. If it's Brazil wins, it's got a Brazilian coach. If it's Italian, it's got an Italian coach.
German, it's German.
Americans need an American coach to win a World Cup.
Again,
Sorry.
it goes back to what you said 20 minutes ago about
I
you
like
need that culture.
Osorio.
You need to understand.
The understanding, yeah. The connection
Top down.
there, that understanding, yeah.
Well, and you got to understand mentality, and
Yeah.
you know you got to understand the American psyche, and and then the other side is, I'm not saying like these kids that are born in Germany and all these other places and they're part of our national team. You need them. If you have good players, you need to bring them.
Yes.
If they have an American dad who's in the military, he's an American.
Yep.
I have no problem with that, but you got to be very clever. You got to be very clever because you got to add that into the American ideal.
Yeah.
You got to add that into the American mentality. Not say Americans got to play like that. Sorry, Jack, my shirt has red, white, and blue on it. I'm an American, and I'm going to play that way.
Yep.
I'm going to outwork you, and I'm going to be clever, and we're getting better. We're going to get more and more clever every year.
Without question.
And once it happens where that we go over that hump,
Yep.
forget about it.
Okay. So in order to get there, we need to have the right people in place at all levels. We need a consistency on all levels. And the reality is we need a coach leading us.
Body of work. Clive used to always talk about your body of work. Look at the body of work. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, right?
Right.
But I stand by my body of work. Look
Yep.
what I did over the last 20 years.
Yep.
Okay? Ziggy Schmidt, look at his body of work.
Yep.
Okay? Is he my cup of tea? I don't know. Philosophically, we think differently.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, look at his body of work.
Yeah.
Can't
Absolutely.
argue with it. Can
No.
you? Guy wins.
No, it
Yeah.
stands for itself.
He does.
Yep.
Absolutely. Except for when he starts Shalry Joseph up top.
I got nothing.
I don't either. It's one of my little pet peeves for 3 years. I can't let it go.
I'll tell you this. In his defense, sometimes you're in that back room on
No,
that whiteboard, and it looks pretty freaking nice, right? You're like, man, we're going to surprise everybody, and this is going to be awesome.
What's the strangest thing you've done as a coach?
Strangest thing?
Yeah.
Nah, we're not doing that.
I meant on the pitch. I didn't mean anything else. Okay, so let's talk about your pool of gold then, as Kyle here. 'Cause
Yeah.
Kyle, why don't you talk a little bit, because Kyle's kind of been our youth expert for the because this is our 4th year doing the show, and
Awesome.
we do it every week, and he's kind of been our lead into. We've had Stefan on, we've had Justin on,
Steph.
we had McKay on, we had Dom on, so we've had
Olsen,
Olsen's
we've had,
on.
yeah.
David was on out to a couple months ago.
Schweitzer,
Schweitzer's been on.
I know all of those children
I know you
well.
do.
Yeah.
Yes, you do. So
those
you were kind
children.
of the. So go ahead. I want to let you talk for a minute here.
Big question was that first year of the academy, going out and finding all those players that you brought in. What was that experience like? Trying to craft and build basically a team from grassroots and find those players that you think would mesh. And
So, one, you need the right people. I went and got Dick McCormick and Billy Crook, okay? You say those names, they're freaking legends,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay? Then I went and got Ben Dragavon to work with goalkeepers.
Great
okay?
goalkeeper.
Right, yep.
So you went through. Right now, I've got the best in the state, ready to handle the best in the state.
Right.
Okay. Washington Premier had already done a really good job with their academy. Okay.
Right.
You had Jimmy McAllister, Gary Heel. These guys coaching. I mean, these are legends as well.
Yeah.
Okay. You got Bernie James up in Crossfire. Bernie and I don't necessarily get along, but at the end of the day, you can't argue with Bernie's body of work, right?
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
if you had a chance to play for a youth club that's really good, or a chance to play for a team that's going to ultimately help you be a professional, what are you going to choose?
Professional every time.
I put the information out there. I talk to them the way I talk to you guys. I talk to their parents. I got to know them. Most of the guys that were in the academy the first year, I had coached through the ODP system years before, like DeAndre.
Okay.
I've been working with DeAndre since he was 9, 10 years old, and ODP and all side projects, right? You know, all of this stuff that's happening with training compensation and all of that, it's craziness. But it's headed to something bigger and better down the road. I hope that they figure it out, man. I don't have all the answers, but I'm excited. But the reality is DeAndre was playing for a club at Northwest Nationals. When we first brought him into ODP, he wasn't at Crossfire. So he came and trained and played with us, you know. Little known fact, when DeAndre and Ryan Herman came over from Crossfire, they came over halfway through the year, and they told Bernie, they said, look, we're going to go to Sounders next year. They had half a year of academy left. Well, Bernie left him registered and kicked him off team. So they were stuck for 6 months with nowhere to train or play.
Right.
Okay, because Bernie didn't want to help them.
Right.
So we ended up letting them train with us. And Hugo Perez, again, calls me and says, hey, they can't train with the Sounders. Well, we didn't even have an academy yet. Those guys were technically training with our first team. And they were trying to say they can't train with you. You follow my problem?
Yeah, big time problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Negative. Again, Ghost Rider.
So what, you had like Sean Okole.
Yep. Ugo. Good boy. Kicking ass right now.
Doing great. Yeah, absolutely. You had, I mean, that first team, it was just loaded with talent. There's so many great players. Troy still plays for you.
Troy and Chase, yep. They both play for my Stars.
Stars, yep.
What's it been like watching those kids kind of work towards their goal and find that pro level, whether it be with the Sounders or moving on to other clubs? What's it like for you knowing that you've had a stake in that development for them and helped them along the way?
Well, let's be clear about one thing. When I say they're my guys, they're my friends. Right. I got lucky enough to hang around with them for a little while. They're not my guys. I don't possess them. I don't get training compensation. But it's important because I hear everybody talk about this was my player or whatever. It's all BS. I was lucky enough to work with Schweitzer. I was lucky enough to work with Troy and Duncan. And I'll tell you what right now, Troy could start at holding midfield on any USL team in this country.
Absolutely.
Part of the problem when guys move on out of our programming is when they don't get a chance necessarily with the Sounders because Sounders have a better player or they choose something else, which is totally fine. It's hard for those guys to get latched on somewhere else because they kind of get stuck with the tag that, well, if you weren't good enough to play here, you maybe not to get move on. And listen, this is a business, man. The Sounders have to win games. Ezra's got to develop players, and he's doing a good job. You know, Troy's got to go find another way, and for him, it's the Stars. For Duncan, it's Arizona. For Ugo, it's Cincinnati. You got to dig it out. Again, get your bag out. Sleep on a couch. Grind, man. That's what it takes.
Absolutely.
Got to hustle hard.
Absolutely. And with the U23s is another team where just the outside, like non-academy, non-Sounders, just some incredible names have come through there. Earl Edwards, Aiden Quinn. You got these.
Jonathan Campbell, yeah,
just incredible. What's it like going out and reaching out to those guys and bringing them to Seattle to play?
So we're at a point now where we have a body of work where reaching out to them rarely happens for me anymore. They reach out to us.
They want to come to you.
They do because they know we're going to help them get those last pieces. All the kids that leave here and go back, for the most part, say, "Man, holy crap, Darren! I mean, I'm a handful." Yeah. And we work them really, really hard. I mean, we have an on-site sports psychologist. So after twice a week and after every game, they do post-game work. Talk to them, help them develop ways to deal with, things that are hard for them. It's I know pro teams that don't do that. Why? We're trying to help them move on.
Right.
When those guys reach out to us, it's really, what do you want and where do you want to go? When they say, well, I'm not sure, I'm like, then I'm not the place for you. If they say, I want to play pro soccer and I don't care what it takes, then
that's the guy you can work with. Yeah,
and we put them through the ringer. And if they make it, they do. We had 7 homegrown guys start in the last game against Calgary.
Right.
7. And the other guys that started, there's a kid named Andrew Wheeler from Harvard. He's a first-round draft pick next year, no question.
Absolutely.
He's a right back. He's awesome. Jonathan Campbell, I would have loved to see him in Rave Green. I mean, he's the future center back for U.S. soccer, and we needed some other things with the Sounders apparently, so they went a different route,
somewhere else,
and that's okay. You know what I'm saying? Because he's killing it in Chicago.
Yeah.
Our job is to try to be biased. Like if I say, look, and I've already talked to the front office about Wheeler. I'm like, that's your kid.
That's your guy. You want to keep an eye on him.
He's a sick right back. He's a draftable right back. And if there's anybody else, we do that. If we can get him into the Sounders, we've done our job. That's what the U23s are about. If they don't, I use my network and my octopus and just
bam,
send them out.
And that's the thing with a lot of the academy guys. I know you know, you got like Solomon, for instance. We've had conversations, and he said that you are the reason why he came to the Sounders. This is a guy who lived, you know,
Vancouver.
25, 30 minutes away from Portland. He didn't want to play for Portland. He wanted to drive up to Seattle to play for Seattle for Darren. Like, he was the force behind that. And then we got Keenan and James Nosak's another one. You know,
I was so mad, dude. We lost that homegrown territory after
Yeah.
the first year, and I fought really hard. And, you know, it wasn't at that time, that wasn't as important to our club. It wasn't that important to the Sounders. Now I bet you they wish
a
that
hotbed of
they.
soccer.
I bet you they wish they had it back. I mean, there was another kid named Jacob Kemp who plays at Gonzaga.
Okay.
And these kids, I mean, they were hopping in a car and driving up 30 minutes, you know, an hour and a half.
Right.
Like Vancouver,
every
Washington
day.
area.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
correct. And you know, the Timbers have really benefited from that. I mean, and I would argue that, you know, some of the top players in their programming come out of our state.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, you know, when you look at the high school level, it's either usually Camus or TJ are the ones that are really. in
Yeah,
this
we have
area
9
that
state
kill
titles.
themselves.
Camus doesn't have 9 state titles.
Clarifying facts. You know, it's like, let's just get some
Player
facts
of the
out
Year
there.
awards, yeah. Usually, you know, you see Camus players or TJ players.
I agree. They're good. They run a good program down there.
Yeah, so it hurts to lose that, but you know, it's great to see the commitment to the team and that there was a draw big enough for the kids, high school kids, teenagers, to get in a car and drive up for practice in Tukwila. Obviously, there was, you know, they love being here. They love the club. They love.
It's what it takes.
Yeah.
If you really want to be a pro, everybody's going to tell you. The funny one for me is when guys go, "Oh, I'm going to go to Europe." I'm like, "Oh, you are, huh? Oh, your mom give you $2,000 to go on vacation?" 'Cause
Play pro, yeah.
you get to Europe, man, you walk out and they spit at you.
Yeah.
Because you're going to walk into a room where everybody there hates your guts in that minute. Why? Because
You don't
if
do the
you
job.
stay, they're out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they never solve a domestic issue with a foreign solution unless they have to.
Right.
So you get it double bad. Oh, I'm going to be a pro and I'm going to go over there. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, a lot of that's going
Harder
on
than
in Liga MX. It's the same thing right now. They're instituting like a 10-8 rule, and it's hotly debated. You know, a lot of the locals are like, that's less of it'll hurt our national team
Right.
in the long run because we're not going to have players developing here. So it's
In Mexico, they used to make each team play a player under the age of 21. Each team had to do that. And it's why that hotbed of guys came through when they won that Gold Cup and they kicked all of our asses, right?
Yep.
Right.
They took it away. And you can see the exact ramification. Back to player development. You want players to develop. Like we play the U18 Academy, right? Jordan Morris, you think he was challenged by a bunch of other 18-year-olds around the country?
No.
He was already the best 18-year-old in the country.
Yep.
He needed to be playing against pros and men.
Yep.
And that's what did it in Mexico. You're down there. You got 14-year-olds playing up.
they do, man.
You know, and it's you know, the Sounders are evolving, and you can ask them because I'm not in there every day. But the more kids that play and train with S2, the better off it's going to be because they're playing with men.
Higher level. Yeah.
Has to happen.
So
Yeah,
the
when you-
oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say when you get challenged, it's just like the way that the reserves used to be. You get on there, you play with pros, people bigger than you. You can't necessarily muscle people around. You know, you get beat up. You find new ways to play.
The mental part's the most important piece. How do you adapt to that environment?
And just going back to like what you said, you got to adapt. You got to learn how to adapt.
Very important.
And mentally, they have to get mentally tough before physically. It's the mental part, like you said, that makes you go the long run.
So there's the development question when you're an educator. You got to put them in that environment enough that you don't put them over the edge because then they become a withering bitch. But you got to put them in the environment enough so that they feel uncomfortable all the time, but you still bring them back and they still love. And then once they figure it out, it's like those light bulb goes off. It's like, oh.
It's like that fine balance between being
seriously.
uncomfortable and keeping your confidence. You have to kind
Yeah.
of walk that line.
It's an art, man.
And you better, that's the pedagogy, right? It's the art of the delivery.
Yeah.
You have to say and do the right things. And you have to be very careful because if you do something wrong, you're sealing out a kid. And what that means is, you know, they're going to be this good potential-wise, right?
Right.
Well, if you start screaming them at the wrong time or do something where their psyche now is only to appease your dumb ass for
Right,
yelling,
right.
you're only going to get them to here. Well, now you're done
Right.
because the minute that you stop them here, you're giving away all this potential.
Right.
And it's something that I didn't do a good job of. I'd say Kovar and DeAndre and those guys, when we worked with them, we could have done a much better job. We're much better at it now than we were when they came through.
Right.
You go toward developing your body of work, though.
And you have to. You got to evolve. If you want this to get better in this country, every day is a challenge to get better at your craft. If you're not, if you're complacent and you're smoking your cigarette and you're enjoying it, you're already done. You're over. Someone's going to fly right by you. You're going to go overlapped. Done.
Yep.
I'm gonna watch this show every day on the way to
I
work.
know.
Let's go.
So the U23s, you mentioned it, they're considered the Sounders U23, but it's not part of the Sounders organization. Cliff owns it, right?
Cliff and Lane.
Cliff and Lane,
So,
yep.
so and you know, I got to make sure I give them a shout because
'cause they're great guys.
Those guys, they swallow a lot of money. I mean, the Sounders don't. The Sounders give us uniforms each year, which is great.
Yep.
But the way it happened was this: the Tacoma Tide was
Yep.
playing in the PDL out of Pierce County. When our academy had that first graduating class, and they were coming back in the summer, I'm like, hey guys, we have to still maintain the homegrown status on these guys.
Yep.
So we have to make sure that we have a place for them to train.
Yep.
Well, they can come in to train, but would you rather play a game or would you rather train?
Yep.
Right.
Well, you got to
Play a
train
game
to play games, but you want to
Yeah.
play games. So we needed an environment. So Cliff and Lane bought the team from Mike Jennings. Mike's still involved in it. He's a smaller owner, and he's a coach with us. But we wanted to play out of Starfire like S2 does,
Yep.
but Crossfire owned the rights to King County, so we stayed down in Pierce County. Interesting thing, side note on Crossfire, this last year they quit the PDL. They were out. The minute that we went and tried to get back into Starfire, we want to have our team play again. Brian Klein, the guy that owns it, said exactly, because we just don't want the Sounders playing close to us. So the S2 and everybody else plays there, but we got to play in Pierce County, which, by the way, I don't mind. The people in Sumner are awesome.
Yep.
They've been great to us. We like the facility, so it doesn't really matter. We're an affiliate. We're a direct affiliate to the first team. So
Yep.
I talk to Kurt, I talk to Ezra, I talk to Brian Smetzer, I talk to Dutra, I talk to them all the time
Yep.
about players. Are they good enough? Are they not? Jeff Caldwell, go train with Tommy, come back. We'll have a couple of guys training probably next week with S2s.
Okay.
Nice.
And then you're also involved as the GM, of the Sounders women team?
So I pretty much run the business and P&L, operational stuff. I got some awesome people involved, so
Yep.
that they help me out a lot.
Yep.
But I pretty much run the whole thing.
Okay.
So I don't sleep a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
I don't like it.
Busy man,
Waste of
yeah,
time.
busy
See
man.
that?
A lot of coffee,
See
probably.
that later.
And then-
I love coffee.
And then you also do, obviously, the Tacoma Stars.
I do.
And how'd you get involved in that?
So
And-
Lane Smith, the guy that owns the
Yep.
U23s, also owns the Tacoma Stars.
Okay.
And I'm not going to give you the clusterfuck that ended up being indoor soccer.
Yep.
But I'll
Oh,
tell you
boy.
what, we do a really, really good job of player development there. There's
Yep.
a lot of homegrowns in there.
Uh-huh.
Lane's done a really good job of giving us the resources to try to build something.
Yep.
And this year will be even better. There's some surprises coming for you.
Man,
Some surprises coming.
Awesome.
It is so much fun, dude.
Yeah.
So
It's good, huh?
I took my dad. My dad is early 60s. He's a traditionalist Mexican soccer fan.
Yeah.
And I convinced him to come out to indoor. I was like, as long as he doesn't fall asleep, it'll be a good show. It'll be a good trip to get my dad out there.
Yeah.
He was hollering and excited. He was all into
Love
it. He's
it,
like,
yeah.
this is fun. This is good soccer. These guys are playing good. I'm blown away. I didn't think that you guys could win my dad over, and totally locked it out of the park.
I'm a soccer purist. I love the game inside and out. You want to talk 4-4-2, 4-3-3, we get all nerdy technical all night. I'll talk all about it. The one thing about indoor that I learned, because I still have a lot to learn about it, and that was new for me, you're still leading.
Yep.
You're still motivating.
Yep.
There's still tactics involved.
Totally.
It's incredibly hard to periodize because you're in and out. It's very, very hard to train correctly, but it's you're still leading. And it's funny to me when people say, oh, indoor soccer. Right? And I look at them and I'm like, oh, okay. The majority of the guys that built the game, where it is right now in MLS and everything, had a history. Brian Smetzer,
Totally.
he won a bunch of championships.
Sea Dogs.
Preki.
That's right.
Preki started
The Sea Dogs.
Tacoma Stars.
Seattle.
You know, don't kid
Jerry
yourself.
Neal's another, yeah.
Look, if you think of all these people, I mean, Zoran Savic, who's the assistant coach for Peter Vermees in KC, both of those guys played. Zoran's coached in the league forever. It's still tactical. You're still leading people. You're
Yep.
still motivating. You're still doing all these things. And I shut my own ass up. And it's like, look, this is still soccer. It's
Yep.
way different, but it's actually harder in some ways.
Yep.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
thing I always hear, like, I believe it was Duncan in the conversation we had, is he said that the time he spent in indoor made him think faster about his moves and where people were and what he needed to do.
It's about your brain.
Yeah, it's so tight. You got to think ahead. You got to be fast and make decisions on the fly. So it helped him in in the standard soccer game, being able to make those decisions faster and see where people were.
And again, it's America, Jack. It's a land of free market. You're going to have a professional futsal league next year. You're going to have an indoor league.
Yeah.
You're going to have all these other things going on. If people want to go watch it, they'll come watch it.
Yeah.
Yep.
We proved at the end of last year, and we're super excited this year. Come buy tickets. Tacoma Stars.
No,
come buy tickets.
We'll be talking about it a lot.
TacomaStars.com, man.
Yeah.
Come check us out.
There you go.
you have the best mascot in the league with Perry the Peanut.
Who's been tweeting us?
I don't even know
Shout
what
out
to say right now.
Shout out to Perry the Peanut.
I'll say, we the guys from the Tacoma Rainiers, they're our back end last year and really helped us out. I love it. And they were awesome. We got some really good people. John Crouch and Julia Falvey, they're kicking ass selling for us.
Yep.
And, Lane obviously is working really hard.
Yep.
Brett Gleason and, Randy McNair. I mean, we got a lot of people that are really behind this thing.
Yep.
And, it's fun.
And it shows, man.
It's fun. And I'm working on the schedule with Tim Higgins at Showwear. So, Tim, I need those last 2 dates. And the whole thing is we're going to have a bunch of Saturdays.
Nice. Good.
Which means which don't conflict with everything else.
Thank
and
you.
we're working really hard to get that done. Showwear is awesome, and come check it out. Come be nasty,
so
drink some
one
beers.
Do it.
of the things you did, I thought that was awesome. So like, you guys reached out to the local schools, and you
Yeah.
brought a lot of the choirs in. So my daughter's choir sang. The
Where's your daughter
national
go to
anthem
school?
At Ridgewood, up
All
in
right.
Kent.
My kids were Seuss Creekers myself.
Okay, yeah. So it's great. And so Ty and Dan came out to the school.
Awesome
and,
dudes.
Oh my God, amazing! I actually bought, even though I was unemployed at the time, I bought Ty's jersey.
Oh, you
when
did?
guys did the last
Cool
game.
jerseys, huh?
Oh my God! And just
Great,
because Ty
yeah.
was he was so amazing. And Dan,
Ty's
Dan
in
led
Malta
it,
right
but-
now. Ty's in Malta
I know.
right now.
I'm following him. We're Facebook friends, etc. So
You a stalker? You
I
a
am.
Facebook
Little
stalker?
bit.
I am.
A little bit.
A little bit. Yeah.
I'm cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, he does it.
Anyway, he's a great guy, though, is what I was trying to say.
Listen, the one thing about that team, because those guys don't get paid a lot,
Yeah.
you can't bring in dipshits.
No.
And it's no different on an MLS team. It's no different on an EPL team. If you put the wrong people in your locker room, you're going to start to fester a cancer. And you got to be very, very smart about who you have in and how you manage that. Special players get a little bit of special treatment sometimes, but you have to manage it. If you don't, they'll poke a hole in the bottom of your boat, man, and you'll paddle hard, but it's going down no matter
Start
what you do.
sinking, yeah.
No, got to get rid of that. If it's wrong, you got to move it now. With it. Very important. And those guys I picked last year, a lot of journeyman guys,
Yes.
a lot of young guys, a lot of hungry guys,
Yes.
a lot of cast-offs,
Yes.
but character. Every one of those guys
Yep.
will show up at your school.
Yep.
They'll make sure that your kid's safe. I leave my kids with any one of my guys
Yes.
every day of the week and twice on Sundays.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because that's just it. And they all show up. They all stay afterwards. When Dan came out of the locker room after the game, he had like 18 ice bags wrapped around his knees and his shoulder and
Well,
everything.
he is like 71 years
Well,
old.
exactly. I know. Yeah, I know. It's true. But he was out there and he was signing every autograph and he wouldn't leave until everybody got the signature. It was amazing. I love that.
Casey said this once, and I think Clive said it to him. He was talking to me when he was at Millwall. He said, you always stick around and sign every single autograph and say hi to every single person, because the minute you retire, those people aren't there anymore, and they're
Yep.
not going to ask. And you don't know who you're talking to. When you talk to a kid, that 3 minutes or that 30 seconds that you take to sign an autograph
Yep.
might be the difference between that kid living or dying, sticking with something or going the wrong route.
Yep.
Yep.
And that's very important.
Yep. Yeah. So great work. I agree. Great work there. We're big fans. We're looking at season tickets,
Yep.
depending on my financial situation.
You're doing
But-
it. We'll make it worth your while.
Yeah. Oh no, don't worry. If the money's there, we're going because
Badass.
it's amazing. You guys did a great job. So fantastic job there.
That's fun,
Let's
man.
go back and talk a geek talk for a minute because you've mentioned it a few times here. And so let's say you have a team that has a certain personnel group and they want to play the 4-3-3.
Certain team.
Certain team. No one in particular. Just random team.
Just a random team.
And then say like one of the key critical pieces of that team isn't there anymore at the last minute. Do
that
you still
sucks.
force that 4-3-3, or do you look at with not the right personnel, or maybe do you alter that at that point, or do you keep going? I guess round square, or was it round peg?
two schools of
square
coaching
holes.
at the highest level.
Yeah.
Tactical periodization and ecological. Okay? I'm an ecological coach. In
Okay.
an ecology, you go in and look what's there. And you utilize the best resources that are there, and you utilize them. Tactical periodization, that's the whole Jose Mourinho and all of that. Very specific. Everybody's got a specific role in each thing.
Yep.
For me, I look at what I got. If I got two badass strikers,
Yep.
I'm playing two badass strikers.
Right.
If I got two center backs that are unbelievable, then I can push guys higher on the flanks.
Yep.
Okay? For me, formations are semantics. Okay?
Yep.
So to be
Yep.
very clear,
Yeah, that's great.
if you buy into a collective, if the group believes in the message and the philosophy, it doesn't matter if you play a 1-9. Look at Barcelona. Okay? Sometimes they play with a post, sometimes they don't. But I'll tell you what, they still press the same, they still play the same. Now, Barcelona is the best club team that ever played in the game, probably.
Sure.
But here's the point. It took since 1982 to build it. Thank you, Johan Cruyff.
Yep.
By the way, he wasn't Spanish, he was Dutch. He delivered the message. Pep's really good, but Johan's the man.
Yeah.
Okay? It's about the collective buying in. How do we defend together and how do we attack together? So 4-3-3, 4-5-1, 4-4-2 doesn't mean a darn thing, but you got to buy into it. This is what I ask of the 7. This is what I ask of the 11. This is what I ask of the 9. These are your roles. This is what you do. But if all of a sudden the left center back is DeAndre Yedlin and he's faster than everybody else on the field, we're now going to have to adjust and adapt within the game environment against it. It might now look like something completely different.
Yep.
Answer? Go too many
beautiful.
circles? Or?
No,
that's great.
Yeah.
No, but that's kind of what we talk. No, but that's also
I'm
to
over
me
here,
that makes
I don't know
sense
about you guys,
because
but I am.
the numbers don't mean. Like you said, the numbers don't mean anything. It's about how you play and what you play out on your pitch. And the reality is, the guys move anyways if they're playing as a collective. So they may start in that 4-3-3, but they're going to end up somewhere different.
And most of the time, it takes something special and different to change a game anyway, whether that's individual or as a collective. 1v1, 2v1. The whole point is this. Somebody's got to be the best of who they are to do things. You know, I mean, Jordan Morris, I think, has been awesome this year. You got a rookie who's scoring 7-8 goals, 9 in all competitions, right? You're by the end of the year, you're going to look at them and be like, that was a success.
Yes.
But when you ask somebody like that to score 27 or 28 goals, that may or may not happen.
Right.
And if it does, he's probably going to get bought.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So
It's I think he's done an admirable job. He's done great. I think
I
that,
agree.
you know, the Sounders, that's what you're talking about. It's 4-3-3. Whether you believe that or not, it's really the group of guys. They have to fucking buy in and get it done.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Own your role.
Great. I mean, that's, and again, we talk about this every week, especially this year, because it's been really rough. We're just trying to come from a fan perspective to understand what's going on. And it's, again, I don't want to go down this path. I don't want to force you down this path. But for us, we felt, and myself specifically, I felt like there's something missing. There's a spark missing. There's a buy-in missing. There's something missing. Again, as a fan, and I'm not asking you to go on. We'll move on. But it's you can if you want, but I'm not trying to put you on that spot.
Not at all.
So
Every coach, every high-level coach will have an opinion.
yeah.
Everyone will be opinion. I'll go back to the body of work.
Yeah.
If people have a body of work that speaks for itself, it will always come back to that. You have a line. It'll deviate.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'll deviate.
Yes.
But it will always come back to that line.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep. Beautiful.
It's the water table. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about DeAndre Yedlin for a second, because you talked about him. You've known him since he was 9 or 10.
Yeah.
Did you see this path of him going pro and then going up like this? I mean, it seemed like that just kind of came
Boom.
out of the blue almost with the U.S. with the World Cup, obviously, and then being sold to
DeAndre's
Tottenham.
timing couldn't have been better, both with the Sounders and with the national team.
Yep.
He benefited from a right back that the Sounders paid money for getting injured, and he had to play in a preseason. And what DeAndre did, and what we say to players all the time on the 23s, when you get that opportunity, you have to take it. You cannot allow it and say, oh, I want another chance. If you get it, you take it. And DeAndre did. He's never looked back. They needed somebody in a role playing a particular way, and DeAndre got a chance.
Yep.
When he got in with the Sounders, when he got in with the national team, he did the job.
Yep.
And rest is history, man.
Yeah.
And it was fast history.
Really
No
fast.
kidding. Yeah.
Did we know, or did Chuck Granat, who coached him at Northwest Nationals, or Bernie for that matter, did everybody know? Nobody knows for sure.
Yeah.
But you look at DeAndre, incredible athletic ability. Okay, good soccer player.
Yep.
He was probably a little overzealous as an 18-year-old man. He was topping guys on tackles and different things. He had to get that under control. I think Caleb Porter was very good for him.
Yeah.
What Caleb taught him how to do was function in a professional environment day in and day out. Again, it's exactly what we do with the 23s. Only we only have them for 2.5 months. Right. You have college programs could be a humongous piece of the future of the game in this country. They've already been a huge piece. If without women's college soccer, our women's national team in Title IX, our women's national team don't kick everybody's ass. Yeah. It was humongous. Yeah. People don't talk about that enough. College soccer was the best thing ever happened for women's soccer players in this country. On the guys' side, look at players. Jordan Morris, DeAndre Yedlin. Yep. College soccer has served a great purpose. Can we help it get better? Yeah. We gotta somehow find a way for the NCAA to lift restrictions to allow those guys to be trained more with higher, bigger, faster, stronger pro players. Yep. Now,
challenge them.
It's a challenge.
You have to.
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
It's a challenge.
I think that's also part of the academy. I think sometimes people don't talk about or overlook is the opportunities through the academy that these guys have had to go to great programs, great
Holy
colleges, straight out of academy due to their soccer skills. You know, that's another thing we talk about, the option between Crossfire, the Sounders, and which one you go to. It's also, you know, you have a long history of quality programs that people, Charleston, UW, you know, UCSB, San Diego State, you know, you just everywhere,
littered
all
over
over,
yeah, for sure.
And you know, not everyone. The harsh reality of the academy is not every one of these guys is going to make it pro. It happens, but you get a head start in life by going to these wonderful universities, getting a great degree, or getting the opportunity to move on. Dom Dismuke's a good, you know, show of that.
Daddy Dom.
Yeah, Daddy Dom. You know, he his time in college, he found that he wanted to be. He wanted to play soccer, but he started to look more towards the you know, kind of the back office end of it, and that's where he decided to take a master's program and look towards that. You know, and the ability to do that came directly from his soccer. You know, he got into UW through soccer, and it's just wonderful to see these kids get opportunities to advance their, you know, education based off of soccer and their.
I don't know what it looks like right now, but when I was there, we had a college seminar every August, so that when the freshmen that came in for us were heading into high school, they knew exactly what they had to do, ACT, SAT wise. Okay, obviously we're ultra connected network wise. Every event that these guys go to in the academy have, you know, 250 college coaches up and down the sideline.
Right.
So the exposure is there. It's up to them to grind out and make sure that they have the grades and all that stuff.
You're talking about
I don't know what it looks like now.
like the showcase, like the winter showcase and
winter
Florida and
showcase, the
stuff.
playoffs, and the finals. Those college coaches, if the finals are going on, you don't run a college showcase at your club or anywhere else because no one will be there.
No, right.
They all
They're
go to
going
those
there,
events.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's huge. Yeah. Yeah, it's great though. The academy has been able to find great players, but just the ability to advance those guys later in life has been incredible as well.
It's more important.
Yeah, it reaches these guys in a way that, you know, other clubs, and I think that's a big draw. People always talk about the chance to move on to the first team. That's always the, you know, the goal, but a big part of it too is the opportunities to go play for these major colleges. And you know, some people want to stay and play for S2 or give that opportunity. College isn't for everyone, but you know, I think everyone's goal is to have something to lean back on. You know,
my phone dings with texts 4 or 5 times a day. Guys of all walks of life, all over the globe, all over the place. I'm having a kid. I'm getting married. I talked to Ugo last week. I talked to Campbell last week. We stay in contact with all of these guys because that's what it's about. It's about the relationships.
Yep.
Okay, and then you hope that when they go through your programming, when they go out in the world, they have a positive impact on it.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, you only play soccer so long, and then you limp for the rest of your life.
Right.
And
aches and pains. Yeah.
And it is what it is. So you hope the relationships you make are what matter.
Right.
That's
absolutely.
awesome.
And that's just to touch on that. I think that's what you've succeeded at.
It wasn't that successful. I got nicked.
Well, yeah, that's neither here nor there. But I think in your relationship building with those players, you've been extremely successful because those guys don't pull punches. If they don't like someone or if they have something bad to say, they absolutely will say it. And I can't think of any player that has come out and just been like, man, I don't like Darren. You know.
You know the most important thing when you're a pro player, you get under the lights, right? Guy said, I'm running around the field. Everybody thinks Darren's great for 5 seconds, right? When it's over, it's done.
Right.
My job is to pass on the chance for those guys to feel that. Because scoring a goal in front of 70,000 people at the Rose Bowl, which happened,
right,
there is no feeling like that.
Right.
Like
can't recreate
there's
that.
this 10-second moment of you cannot replicate it on any level anywhere. And if most of the people that say, you know, when you're in front of the goal, you're cold-hearted and there's no emotion and you just passed it in the goal.
Right.
They never scored a goal in front of 70,000
Right.
people. They don't know. There is emotion. Everybody says, I don't understand why he pulled his shirt off.
Because you're not thinking about it. Yeah.
Well, and the point is, those people don't know that guy has spent 8,000 hours toiling alone and grinding and all that. And that moment of power that nobody else gets,
Right.
you can't replicate it. So when you're done and you had your chance to do that, it's your job to try to give that to people. And it might obviously be, for some guys in a front office, making the deal to bring Oba to the Sounders or something.
Right, yeah.
That gives you that feeling, but It's incredible.
It is, man. It's that thing that drives everybody to get to that point, man. I wanted to just ask you, at this point you said that you really don't have to go look for players. As players come to you or people send players your way. But when you were looking at players, how often did you find players in neighborhoods that were not the nicest or didn't have premier clubs, more like lower income, moderate income neighborhoods? Because one of the things that I think Mexico has benefited from is that soccer is played by every kid, you know, whereas here it's a little bit tougher. And I don't want to go into the whole pay to play, whatever, but we're doing a tournament for a sport group that I'm with, Barra Fuerza Verde, where we want to give a premier style tournament to clubs that are predominantly from kids that don't have means. So how often did you find kids, or how would a coach do that?
Let's start here. I used to run a youth club called HPFC. The club's it's withered away. Greater Renton, which became Pac Northwest, which is the club Leighton O'Brien. I basically handed him my whole club. All the guys went there. At one point, we had 44 different nationalities represented.
Wow.
Somalians, everything. And then we'd have Ramadan, right? So what we did was those kids couldn't eat before 9 o'clock. So we would schedule 11, 12, 13-year-olds to train at 9 o'clock, and what we would do is have a potluck at Highline Stadium. And each week we would have Mexican food, or we would have Ethiopian food, or whatever, and the kids would talk about their culture. We would all eat. We'd sit for 50 minutes and then play. For me, there's two things that go with this. One, short answer to your question, all the time. Look up Nano Francisco, who's probably going to train with us too next week. Okay, he played with me this summer. Look up his history. Look up, there's a guy named Mauricio De Leon that played at USF. He helped me find a young man playing for DC United right now, Miguel Aguilar, who actually played for our 23s 2 summers ago. These guys, their stories, I mean, they were undocumented. And when Miguel started with MLS, all of a sudden, oh man, what do we do? He's undocumented.
Yeah.
Well, he's done through the correct processes and everything, and he's done it.
Props for using undocumented, by the way. Major props. That's much love.
Here's the point. I could give a crap what color you are, what language you speak, where you live or where you grow up. But I also hold guys to 4 pillars, okay? Every team that I run, everything that I do, okay? Respect each other, respect the club, maximum intelligence, and maximum effort. You do those 4 things for me, all of the rest of it takes care of itself. And it doesn't matter where you're from, because in the academy, it costs nothing. There's a kid named Roger Polito, Mexican kid from Yakima, and I don't know where he is in the academy, but I still believe he's involved. He was playing in the middle of Yakima, man.
Yeah.
And he got snatched up. And the way we find those kids, massive network. In Southern California, there's 500,000 kids alone that play in affiliated leagues. There's another 250,000 kids that play in unaffiliated leagues. There's a guy down there named Josupe. He runs those leagues. He's involved in those. I did C license with him. I instructed a C license with him like 5, 6, 7 years ago. We talked about players all day, guys that came through Sueño. I ran the Sueño for MLS here in Seattle when it came.
You did?
Yeah.
Wow.
4 years ago. The point of it is this. It doesn't matter where they come from. It's that they get here. And I'll tell you this. So many people say to me, oh, man, we're missing all of these guys. I don't think we're missing as many as people think. Truth. I think that a lot of those guys that get a chance to come in out of that, it is such a culture shock that it's so hard for them. And do we need to do a better job of integrating that?
Right.
Yes, but on the lower levels. Who's paying back? And not the Sounders. What are Eastside, Crossfire, Wash Premier, all these guys, what are they doing within their communities to make sure that those kids are involved? And all of them are doing something. Right? But we got to keep working for that, you know?
Makes sense.
I have a buddy that thinks that we need to put a futsal court in every major city, and he thinks it's going to turn into what the NBA did with basketball. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Seems a little bit too creative.
You have to integrate them into the American system. Everybody bitches and moans about pay to play. Instead of bitching and moaning about these massive clubs, how about help educate the people running them, help them raise money, help them do things so that the door is open for everybody. Because the clubs already do a good job. Can they do better? We can all do better.
Oh, yeah,
Absolutely,
always.
yeah.
All right, let's take a quick break from this. We have a few questions we ask every single guest that comes on the show.
Hot seat time.
So it's hot seat. I got it.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're gonna do this real quick. Do you want to run that intro real quick? We'll have a minute here. Go ahead and run it.
Guess I should have done my research.
to SonarFeed question and answer session, the hot seat. Here it is. I'm going to let Aaron kick it off, and I'm calling in my boy Tom. Get in here, man.
All right. Well, Darren, so we do this with every guest. It started with Dom and everybody way back when, like 4 years ago.
4 years ago, yeah.
So the first question is, Biggie or Tupac?
$100?
Yeah.
Whew. That's a sexy little question.